Hi, folks. Welcome to my humble homestead. As you know, I'm mostly off the grid, but that's not what I want to talk to you about today. Today, I want to talk to you about that other part that I sometimes mention in the forest. I live in the forest. You can't see much with my little Mickey Mouse lens, but I am surrounded by, I'm in the thick of it. The whole property is like this. I'm surrounded by millions and millions and millions of trees. I'm wearing my Red Riding Hood hoodie too today to be further um, encased in forest, or go with the story. And the story today is this. If for those of you who've always wondered about the saying, or is it a saying? If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it still make a sound? Quiet, isn't it? Stop yelling. The birds have migrated. We're well into fall, and let's answer that question. The answer, and as it's come to be known to me based on my experience, is that not really. What do I mean? Not really. No, it doesn't really make a sound. And so, how is that possible? And I will show you this particular tree because this one came down recently, so you can see what I mean. There are two basic ways that a tree can fall down. One is, actually, three ways now that I think of it. One is when a tree rots from inside, and that's really not really uncommon because a tree grows from the outside. It's the outside, this part that you see, that grows and it stretches. And I will show you a maple behind you that's more easier to see if I remember. And it stretches just, and at the core of it, it could be what they call a cambium layer. It could be rotten or dead or dying. But there are times when a tree has come to the end of its life and it looks like that, more and more and more and more, and a very thin layer on the outer part is like a thin jacket that is intact. So when that's so hollowed out inside and at the core, and mostly like 90%, it doesn't take much for it to fall. But that said, even a dead tree like that, and that would be a dead tree. Even a dead tree like that could be standing for quite some time before it comes down. In fact, in my 11 years of living in the forest, I've only experienced that one time. Actually, a tree behind me. I was even making a movie on black currants. If you go back and look at it, you'll see. Well, you won't see it because so. Actually, if you look really closely, you might see it because the camera's facing me and the thing is way in the background. It's a white birch, so it may not be that difficult to see. So it's a white paper birch. And I just heard a thud, like, thump, like that, zoom, like that. And I thought, what the heck? And you have to be vigilant when you live in the forest. I mean, we don't have any predators. We're the apex predators here. So no grizzlies here or mountain lions or anything like that. And so I thought, what was that? It was so odd that I had to go and investigate. And it was a white paper birch that was dead, and I knew it was dead. And I'd left it up for the habitat to use, and also because the paper of the jacket, what you see, what's called the paper birch, the paper part of it that you see is waterproof. But even though it's waterproof, I wanted it to be not on the ground and maybe decaying, because some of those preppers or forest folks would tell you that people that go camping guides, and I would tell you that that's one of the best things to start your fire with, because the paper, it does burn really well, but it's waterproof. And if you don't believe that, ask any Native American, Canadian, Indian, whatever, I don't know what the First Nations, that they used to make their white, you've seen the canoes, paper birch. Well, that was on the outside, on the water side. So it's waterproof. So anyway, it was up, and then I heard it, and I came down. So, but I've only experienced that once in 11 years of living here. So the rest of it, and that's the time that it made that noise. And because it's dead, it had already lost its branches. But because it was so hollow, it's almost like kind of squishy. As it came down, it kind of gently thud on the ground. And the forest floor is not like the Rockies that would have like boulders and things that it would hit and you would hear it. It would just kind of gently fall down and quietly. So that's one way that would hear it, but it would be so quiet that you almost don't hear it. If, like I'm talking now, if a tree falls, I won't hear it. Just my own sound of my own voice. This here, that if you're able to see, this is another way that a tree can come down. This is this is one of the most common, and then there's the other one that's the most common, and that is from its roots. Hey, car, where are you? I'm almost done. So, with the roots, and this, where is it? And then the thing is that this tree, okay, where are you? I hear it, gone. So this is not a dead tree, and if you don't believe me, I will take the camera and I will point it to the branches of it, and you'll see how green it is. None of its needles. Oh, this is a fir, and none of its needles have gone yellow or dropping or anything. So what happens is that pretty much every tree has a lifespan, especially since here, when I'm trying to manage it, they're way too close to each other. So when they were little baby ones, like all around me here on the ground, I can count something like maybe 90 little saplings are here. That's why I don't mind if trees come down, because there's, for every one that comes down, there's almost like 100 coming up. So they were in a rush to get to the sun, and so they don't have brilliant root structure. So when the wind comes, the prevailing wind is from the west, as the planet turns that way. From the west, clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever. So as they're growing up and they're used to getting most of the wind coming from the west, they sort of like a kangaroo, if you will, and that, you know how kangaroos kind of sit on their big tails, so it almost becomes a leg. So they have the same situation. So they've developed the biggest, one of the most. And I'm not talking about their anchor root, but the side root goes behind them. Imagine in front of me is west, and in fact the west is behind me to be exact. But just for the sake of argument, for the sake of telling you this story, the root comes out from behind me, directly behind me. So when the wind is pushing at me this way, that leg or that branch or that root is sticking out, making me stand up straight. Now, because the prevailing wind is from the west, anytime the wind comes from any other direction, it doesn't have that extra root, really big, thick extra root on that side to help it stand up straight. So it's kind of it's a weak anchoring. And so the wind comes from, in this case, it came from south. That's the south. That's south of us. But I can show you trees that have fallen north. That's the other thing. When in the winter, when we have nor'easter wind, those winds are the most impactful because the molecules are closer. It feels like a big punch, as opposed to summertime when the molecules are farther apart, and it feels like going, as opposed to in the winter, I would go like that with a force. And probably the higher winds, they fall different ways. But my point is, going back to the sound that the trees that don't make, when a tree this size, this is about 100-foot tree, when a tree this size falls, when does it fall? Not on its own, because it's not dead. And say it's 30, 35, 40 years old. So it's got some root structure. It's not like a little weakling. So what happens? How does it fall? Because it's probably a windy day. We don't get wind like they get on the coast that are like, I think the highest recorded wind, I think for another Atlantic province in Canada was 175 kilometer hour. That's faster than you would drive in the highway. So, but here where we live, in my region here, the highest I've experienced in 11 years, I would say 60 kilometers. But when this tree came down, may have been not even that, maybe 50 kilometers. So when it comes down, usually it's because it's top heavy. There's rain and there's wind, so it makes it top heavy. You kind of become like a leverage, like a fulcrum. So too much weight on the top, not so much on the bottom, and it goes down. And when the wind comes, my experience, I can't speak for people that live on the coast. That's about 3 hours of us, or people that live in Florida. The wind could be coming constantly. That's why some trees are if you look at them on the beach there, they look like there's like a U shape. They're growing into the ocean, trying to push themselves really against the wind. It's not like that here. Wind comes, it's like a bear market of the stock market. Wind comes, wind goes. Wind comes, wind goes. So it's like the tree becomes swaying like that, and not constantly like a swing would, but maybe like a swing would, like that, at the speed of the swing. So what happens is that sometimes it creates a fracture. That's not this time, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so this fell like that. But when it falls, because it has so many branches, so much foliage up above it, plus the sound of the wind acts as a damper, as a noise canceling, like your headphones would. When it falls, you don't hear it. This one didn't even fall because it got jammed in other trees in its way, and I'll show you that too. Jammed or hooked. So if this didn't have, like all the other ones around me that you see, it would still not make a sound because the top of that tree would be really cushioning the sound plus the wind, like I mentioned. Now, behind me, that other tree, you can see how it's snapped off. So the roots are intact, whereas this one, roots have come out. That's the one with the kind of fracture. Now, I will show you a tree right here next to you. If I have to remember to show you all these things that I told you I want to show you. And so when that tree, when the wind comes and goes and comes and goes, it could form a fracture, ever so light, like little crack. And the tree doesn't fall because the tree is very strong. The pulp of trees are so strong. It's amazing tensile strength. But that said, over time, month after month, year after year, day after day, if it's if you live somewhere windy, that fracture becomes bigger, crack becomes bigger or longer throughout the tree, and until such time that the tree is no longer has a structural integrity that it once had, if it was healthy, and then it snaps and it falls down. Same thing, still doesn't make a sound. The only sound you hear, it's not the sound of falling, it's the sound of that fracture. It goes like that. That's all you hear. You don't hear the tree falling down so much. I mean, it does make a sound, but because of the wind, it's not silent. But because of the wind and because of the branches it has to cushion its fall, you hardly hear it. So there's your conundrum about if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it still make a sound? In my opinion, from where I am, not really. Now let me show you all the things that I said I was going to show you. Interesting for me. So folks, I'm coming to the back of this tree so you can see what the back of a tree looks like that's fallen down. It's not easy moving. So you see how what it looks like? And this is when you're going camping or whatever, this is where you want to shelter from the wind. So this is a natural protection. When we have like a sort of a survival shelter, emergency shelter, workshops and that, this is what you do. And the ground is naturally a little bit dipped, so you can build something with evergreens or anything that you can find, or leaves, to keep you off the ground. And then you put your mat anyway, and then the rest of you can tarp this area somehow and get protection, more protection from the rain and wind. Now, if this was bigger, this could have been a den for a bear or something. So look, this tree here that I told you is not a dead tree. You see how it's not a dead tree? I mean, these lower branches are always dead anyway because they drop their branches. But so, and it's 100 feet long, all the way over there, and it starts all the way over here. Oh, while I'm here, let me show you this. So next to this tree, not far from it, you see that's the tree. And if you look on the ground, all these little green sort of bunches you see, little clumps that you see, these are all, every single one of them has the potential to be a tree that size. And like I was saying to you, there are about 100 of them here, just in this little patch. How many of them should there be here? None. And because that's how they become, their roots become weak. And I give these away every year. I advertise and say free seedlings, free saplings to anyone that wants to put some of them on their lawn, or in the city folks anyway. Anyone that lives here, they don't need it. Oh, while you're here, let me just show you this here. See that tree that snapped off? See the diameter of it? It's farther than the two on the either side, and it's still showing. You can see how wide it is and how it snapped off. 5-6 feet off the ground. I've already processed that tree. That's gone. So one other thing I was going to show you, if I remember if there's anything else, I want to show you that fracture. So you see, this is the base of a tree. A tree that's also over 100 feet tall. You see that crack? Let me see if I can get closer. You see this fracture? How it started at the root of it? And it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up, and then about 5 feet high, and it stopped. And this tree right here, you can see even through that crack. Now it started to try to somehow, the tree is desperately trying to heal itself by coming out with that sap. Yeah, like a sort of like a glue, like you would a furniture that's cracked, and so that it can glue itself back together again, make itself more integral or more whole again. But it's impossible because the wind is so high. Let me see if I can zoom. I think you can see the sap. Anyway, that's that. One of the interesting thing I wanted to show you, one of the reasons why I try to, when I say I do forest management here, is that how many trees can you see here? Can you count? It's hard to see all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, when there should only be one. They need to be a minimum of 6 feet apart, when right now there's 5. And if of the 5, there are 3 different species, in fact. There's a white paper birch on your right, maple on your left, and fir at the back. Just these 3 here. Just these 3 that you're looking at here. So the white pepper birch, this is a start of what a thing would look like. Lichen and moss. You see a little bit of moss on the right side? And so this is the paper that I wanted to save on that one. This paper is waterproof, but not fireproof. And this is like I was saying, this is how trees grow. This is the maple next to it. You see how it's got all these cracks and spacings between it, and that's how it's growing on the outside. Anyway, folks, I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know if you want to see anything else, or if you have something to teach me. I would love to learn. Take good care.